their children predominantly listen to it. It doesn't matter what nationality you are, what ethnicity. We know that hip-hop crosses all genres, socioeconomic ethnicities, goes world. There's some families who seem to portray one influence in their life, one morality, one set of values, religious, right, per se, but then their kids are over here, they fall off the deep end, and they want to blame it on hip-hop music or the music they're listening to.
Maybe they don't have enough guidance from people they're looking up to. They're not getting enough guidance from them, from either the church or their parents.
Mm-hmm. The church or their parents, I like that as well. And the other thing I believe what it is that we don't practice what we preach. For instance, I'm very real with my kids. I don't go and pretend like everything is okie-dokie, sit in church in the pews and sing holy, 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 you know what I'm saying? And then go home and all this other stuff. I don't do that. Never did. Everything in my family with my children has an explanation. I don't think I've ever had to explain my Christianity and hip-hop music to my children. But I have had an attempt to explain it to people, even in the world, people who are not in church, people who are not religious. They don't understand how that goes together. So, if I take a person and their lifestyle and their traditions are one way, right, and I go back to Run DMC, he's a preacher, well-known preacher, okay? So when you take that part of a person's life, why can't we do this also? Why can't I sit and tell my, now listen, there's one way we are supposed to worship as Christians when we go to church. I mean, religion tells us that there's a way that we worship. Now, how would it look if I was in church and I was playing hip-hop music? As much as I love it, you think I would sit there and listen to that sitting in church? There's no way. I'll be out there in a minute, in a hot minute. I got something's wrong with this church, regardless. So at home, yeah, there are times we feel, and I tell single parents this, keep spirituality in your life. You have to bring spirituality into your life to build on the relationships with your children. I think the biggest problem, the biggest conflict with a lot of families is that a lot of parents pretend to be one thing when they're not. And the children, as I speak about in the book, they see right through that stuff. Children are the most, you walk into a room of kids, if you're not transparent, and I mean from teenagers, from little ones and teenagers on up, they can see right through you. They can tell when you're genuine, and they can tell when you're phony. So they take up on that. And here we are again. Make worship services a part of your life. If you're not already doing this, start somewhere. Here I go. Proverbs 22:6 says, train up a child in the way he should go, and he will not depart from it. It does not mean that the child will not regress because, again, we are not perfect. Nobody's perfect. That, to me, is what hip-hop music is. Because no, it's not perfection. It's not saying that we're living a life of perfection. But it's also, who knows about Public Enemy? You guys know about Public Enemy? What does Public Enemy sing about, namely? Their message. You don't have to pick any particular song, just overall, the genre.
Was it just like law enforcement or government?
Kind of anti-right, kind of against the government. So, down 911 a long time ago. Hey, shut up. You know what I'm saying? This is real. So how can you tell me, I'm going to Jesus here. Jesus says, feel the need first. Service the people first. That's how you create love and bring people to the church. That's how you bring people to Jesus. So we got people in this country with a need and 911 won't even show up. Right? Or they can't even get fed. How many people you think are going to turn over to this religious thing that we call Christianity? How many people you think are going to see the moralities and the reason why I should be a Christian? Again, I was blessed enough to have it in my home. I'm going to play another song. I wish I did this on PowerPoint. I apologize. I was looking for my old PowerPoint. And you tell me, how do you guys feel about Grandmaster Flash? How many guys as men, young men in here, have talked this way to a woman walking down the street? Probably not. How many girls have had men talk this way to them walking down the street? Yeah? As a teenager growing up. This is common. Very common in our neighborhoods. It's not shied away. It's like, this is what you go through. I don't care if you're a teenage girl from on up. There's always somebody trying to holler at you. So a lot of the songs in hip-hop, like I said, they reflect on the communities in which we came out of. When I go to nightclubs with my girlfriend, my mother, she'd say, you know, when we would go to the club and we would hear has played a lot of female rappers' music. Have you had the chance for them to listen to a lot of empowering messages from female rappers as well? And my favorite was always from Salt-N-Pepa. It wasn't necessarily pushes, but still, at the same time what Salt-N-Pepa did for me as a woman, they empowered me to know that, guess what, if you're going to step to me, you got to step right, okay? So you take that again with collective religion. Religion tells a lot of women to be passive. Religion has a lot of women thinking that their role is in the home and to be domesticated. That's not what these sisters are saying. That's not what they're saying. They're saying you go out there and get what's yours. And then they're also saying if that brother steps to you wrong, you go ahead and step back. That was the difference. So again, but I didn't have parents that, now let me say something to you. My mom and Prince, guys know who Prince is? How do you know who Prince is? Yeah, figured, huh? Purple Rain. That's a classic. Well, when Prince first came out, and I don't know if Professor Whitaker remembers this, when Prince first came out, he had a label on his music. And it was erotic, right? And it was forbidden. So when the show, he was the first one that came out with that on his label. And I think I was 14, 15 years old. I wanted it so bad. 1999, little red Corvette, you know, all that. My mom, we were coming home from church, we were going by a store. And I remember in the store, and I was over in the records part section, and I saw it just sitting there, and I was like, oh my God, so it. I wanted to sew it. So I went to my mother, I grabbed it, and I said, Mama, can I have this? Can I have this? And she told the label, she said, I don't know, right? So I went to the back, and I stood around, still looking at all the records, and I asked her again. I said, can I have this? Can I have this? She bought it for me. See, again, we're going to go back to what we show our children. My mother was a straight-up Christian. You understand me? Was no joke about her Christianity, her Bible knowledge, nothing. But you know what? She still allowed me. She allowed me to be myself. She still had faith and knew that I wasn't going to go out there and use that. I did not go out there and use that kind of language. I love that. Oh, I love Prince. I played him over and over again, day and night. So, again, I think it's really up to the parents to sit and set the course for their children. And the one thing I think we have a lot of problems in our society today, while a lot of kids run the opposite direction, is because parents are playing two roles. They're trying to be one thing and saying something else. And that's the conflict I think a lot of our kids are going through. I was also a victim of domestic violence in the church. Also, not actually, but my husband was a Christian, right? So I was a victim of domestic violence, and it was people in the church as well, some of morals and values, who talked about me, who gossiped about me and my children. You know what I'm saying? That was the last place you think that should happen. We talk about morals and values. But guess what? The foundation I had early in my life, with the brothers I had, with the family I had, the community I came from, that's where I was empowered at. That's where I was inspired at. So all we did was go to another church. I didn't leave God, because that's part of my moral foundation. That's who I am. That's who we are as a family. And I pray to this day my children will continue in that.
Different fault lines. That's sort of this notion of the single mom in and of itself, coming from, maybe an inner city environment, and not the suburb, as it were, and sort of the stigma that comes with that. So you were trying to instill a new type of reality for your kids, so they wouldn't be the statistics out there, or particularly a number. So the book, it seems to me, comes out of a place of strength, a place of empowerment, and you're speaking sort of for millions of, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who don't have a format to do so. I'm curious, because I know you've done radio shows, I know you've done a lot of stuff, so maybe you can tell students briefly in terms of the impact. My assumption is, because you have a Facebook page you guys can look at as well, I'm sure you've got a lot of positive, constructive feedback from people who said, we needed this for a very long time, because this is definitely like a niche area. So what kind of constructive and positive feedback have you gotten based upon your message, particularly, dealing with hip-hop and religion and so forth?
You know, it's amazing. You know how sometimes it just takes one person to speak up and say something, and everybody kind of feels that way, right? You're like, oh, I just think I'm waiting for somebody to say something. And so my audience, my target audience, check this out, are not the ones who I think will pick up this book and read it. My target audience are those that are spoken about very ill in our society. Those that even Bill Cosby talked about in the NAACP, we're more alike than we are different. And so the same message is trying to trickle throughout, I guess, our society. And every community has that type of population that needs to be empowered and needs to be inspired.
Excellent. On this point of empowerment, it seems to be a strong theme here. And we've talked about a lot of the issues and a lot of the thinkers, actually, you mentioned. And so I hope there was a lot of internal head nodding, right? Okay, when she was mentioning Common and QueenLatifah, Run DMC and so forth, we have gotten a strong foundation in these artists, but particularly from a religious, spiritual perspective. That's what we're basically doing in the class. So they definitely talk them about it and so forth. So you guys are well-versed at Tupac and so forth. So at the same time, though, you bring up a lot of important tensions. It seems to me, but, to address it the way you want to, the issue of misogyny in hip-hop, we talked about that specifically last week. Like, I just sort of dealt specifically with that topic. My question for you is, and you noted, we had in here maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, Christian ministers. Okay, and this is like the first issue that I brought up with them. And I think you do a very fair job because I think you're clear about not trying to pigeonhole hip-hop into all being misogynistic, right? You talk about sort of the evolution of hip-hop, and when it started, QueenLatifah, for example, Monie Love, this was not part of the discourse, it was just the opposite. These were hip-hop feminists. Hip-hop feminists, like foregrounding this discourse. So, and then we also have various types with Salt-N-Pepa too, which can have very overt, strong sexual language, but it was also very empowering in many respects. We flip the script, if we can, and talk about religious situations. Maybe women can become priests or ministers, or there's a different standard, and people, coming against you for various reasons. So the issue of being stigmatized and being inferior regarding being a woman doesn't exist simply within the realm of hip-hop, but it's also discourse in religious proper. So my question for you is, it seems to me that your message can be not just, it seems like you're educating also religious people as well. Right? It seems like you're trying to say to religious people, religious sectors, that, there are some things in hip-hop worth preserving, and there's a number of artists people should listen to that can be enlightened from. Is that sort of how you feel like this tension? So my question is, it seems like you're educating people in religious circles as well. That's what it seems like.
That's amazing you brought that up, because I had this discussion with a preacher one time. It's a preacher. Let me preface this first by saying I attend the Church of Christ, and in the Church of Christ, women are not allowed to be, and I don't use the word allowed because biblically we believe the Scripture teaches to preach over a man or pray over a man or that type of thing. Not to say that we can't evangelize, meaning go out and teach Jesus, right? It doesn't mean that. However, I remember a preacher, we were visiting a church one Sunday, and the preacher, his message was about the things we do in our lives, right, for recreation. And he mentioned something about, a lot of you are sitting at these jazz places, and sometimes you'll go outside too, they have jazz by the sea or, really nice alleys, right? And I'm like listening to him, and he said, you listen to jazz, you're bumping, you're just, I'm like, look at him, right? So afterwards, I walked up to him, and I said, well, you really wouldn't like me. And he said, I said, because I listen to hip-hop and rap, and I allow my children to. And he just went, I wanted to ask so bad, what is it that you're afraid of? I'm still trying to dissect that even within myself. But guess what? I've gotten past the point of trying to figure people out and why, and I'm just going to send my message. And every time I speak, check this out, every time I speak, and I get people to come back to me to say thank you, to me, that's a spiritual awakening for you that says, God, you keep doing what you're doing. Because it's not about hip-hop and rap and religion as far as why are we such dissension going on. That's not what this is about. It's still about serving the needs of our communities. I think they lose the whole purpose. So if I can't talk to you about where you're from, if I can't relate to you about your community, how can I teach you anything?